You're listening to What Made You, the podcast that goes beyond the music and dives deep into the moments that shaped it. Join host Deanna Marie as she sits down with artists and creatives to uncover the risks, the setbacks, and the experiences that made them who they are today. The story behind the spotlight starts now.
Some artists write songs. Others build emotional worlds for people to disappear into. So we're digging into trauma, healing, transformation through music, in addition to some spirituality, relationships, and finding beauty in the darkness. So let me introduce you to Christian from Mourning Coffee. Thanks so much for being with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, I just have to specify for anyone who might be listening and not watching, it's mourning as in sadness, not mourning as in time of day.
Yeah, no, it's sometimes people have a hard time looking me up after like a show or something because, you know, sometimes we don't have like a little banner or something like that. And I'll just say like, oh, it's Mourning Coffee. So I've actually taken it upon myself to spell it out when I introduce the band. It's Mourning, Mourning. But like I made it like a nice little tag thing because like we're all about the healing process and dealing with our trauma. And I think I got it down to where like it's, you know, it doesn't sound like a mouthful, but at the same time, you know, it is a bit of an introduction.
Well, when I started looking into you guys, into your music and the background of the band, the phrase pain awakening showed up a lot in your descriptions. So can you tell us what it actually means to you personally?
Yeah, so I guess the best way I gotta put it is we all go through traumatic experiences throughout life, whether it's like someone passing away or whether it's as simple as like a breakup or, you know, like a falling out with a friend and stuff like that. And I think it's like it's traditional, but it's also very unhealthy for most people to kind of just like push past those things and like kind of, you know, I guess try to just not like the idea of like suppressing things, right? Like to not really deal with them in the moment or to not break because like, especially like as a man, like you're kind of like, it's a weakness to be super vulnerable and to cry and to break down and stuff like that. And so then we go throughout our lives kind of like as like this like ball that's like calcifying of traumatic events over time because we're not emotionally dealing with it at all. And so it comes out in all these outbursts. It comes out in all of like us passing the buck to somebody else, whether it be like, you know, like something annoying as like a traffic thing or, you know, dealing with someone over the phone or something like that. Or, you know, like maybe someone that we work with that we're a little bit short to or whatever, because we are unprocessing the emotional trauma that we go through. And that totally makes sense because we're like not just like it's not even just a gender thing, it's just a human thing in general. Like we're pain avoiding creatures. We don't want to be in pain, so we try to find a way out of it, like whether it's through alcohol or drugs or sex or anything like that. A TV, movies, whatever it is. And it's just all these distractions keep us from really sinking into the darker aspects of being a human being. And Mourning Coffee is all about dealing with our shadow. And pain awakening is, to put it another way, is in facing our pain and dealing with our pain, we can awaken to deeper aspects of who we are and our surroundings as well. So like it could just be like being more self-aware or being more aware of our surroundings, because we're more in tune with like what we're going through and what we've been through, as opposed to you know, taking cliches at face value and then just blanketing perspectives onto people that we've never met, situations that we've never been in, and just assuming that, oh, this is what it is because this is the cliche, or this is what we think it is, as opposed to being a lot more self-aware because of the emotional experience that we're allowing ourselves to go through. Um, it's a stigma. It's a stigma. Mental
Yeah.
health is a stigma. Like when I was 15 years old, my mom passed away. Um, a big thing that really helped me was music. So like I was able to thankfully alchemize my pain into something.
Hmm.
Obviously, dealing with the emotional trauma of losing someone is not a linear path. Like we're going to experience highs and lows for however long it takes. Like it could take many, many years to heal from something that
Yeah.
dramatic. It could be a lifetime even. But um, to have thing there creatively as an outlet, whether it be music, painting, writing, whatever it is extremely important when it comes to dealing with our trauma. Like I
Yeah.
think it's in some ways it could be even more important than being able to talk to somebody, but I would put them at the same level at least, because expression is the idea. Whether you're talking to someone or whether you're able to express yourself artistically, like it's so important to the healing process. And I'm so glad that now with um, after doing music for 20 years, that I finally have a project where I can actually make mental health and trauma healing the central focus, as opposed to,
Yeah.
just like a background thing, like, oh yeah, I've been through this, but I don't want to like really sing about it, I don't really want to talk about it, but now that's the front and center focus.
Yeah. There's so many good points that you've made and so much to unpack in that explanation. But let me try and start at the beginning. So,
Mhm.
uh, is is that also the story of kind of where the band name came from? Like, how did you land on Morning Coffee?
So I So I've always been like a big fan of folk music, and I always worked in coffee shops before the pandemic
Okay.
as a barista. So like a rustic like coffee shop vibe has always been my vibe. Um, but I never really had a project that reflected. The same year that this project started, like it originally started as like a solo project, so I was just going by my name, and I was driving into the city for a show, and I forgot how this popped into my head, but the idea of like morning coffee, but like spelled Mourning, because like it's always been like, especially when this project started, it's always been kind of like a darker, kind of like a moodier folk, like like especially the themes that I like to write about and stuff like that. So when that popped into my head, like the first thing I did immediately was like, search online, search on like Spotify, search on like all these different things to see if there's any other artists with that name, because I was like, there's no way this isn't already being used. And all I could find was like this one coffee shop in like I think Philadelphia, and then this one podcast, but no artists. So I was like immediately I like jumped on it, did the rebrand. I know like usually like people like make rebrand announcements or make it. I was like, it doesn't matter, like I'll just do it now, and because like it was
Yeah.
early enough, right? So I was just, yeah. So I got lucky. This is how that happened.
Well, your music, it feels so intimate. Do you do you ever struggle with like how much of yourself you want to reveal in your songs? Because I know that they're born out of a lot of like traumatic experiences and struggles, but do you ever kind of battle with how much of yourself you really want to reveal in your music?
I mean, I used to, because I think we both come from an era where there was a bit of mystique between the artist and the listener, and that mystique kind of like mystified the artist and kind of made them a little bit more bigger than life and stuff like that. And there's an element to that you know is, I wouldn't say like still applicable to artists today, when it comes to wanting to preserve like this like specialness to being an artist or whatever. But in my experience, at least in this project as opposed to prior projects, the more vulnerable and the more open that I've been with, not just like lyrically and in the music what I've been through, but also like, you know, just coming online and talking about stuff or making a post about stuff, the more receptive, like even like at live shows as well, the more receptive people are to the project. So I think that as opposed to taking a more traditional, you know, let the mystery be what it is, and then the listener could fill in the gaps. As opposed to taking that route, being a lot more open and vulnerable and honest with people has actually only helped people get more into the project and be more interested in what it's about. So I'd say, yeah, in the beginning, but definitely it's the opposite now. Now it's more so like, okay, maybe it's okay for me to be open with, you know, having this trauma or losing this person or whatever, because now people have opened up about similar things that they've been through with me, you know, like their own stories and stuff. And I guess like now thinking about it, like a lot of the artists that I like too, the reason why I like them is because there's something in their lyrics that I connect with deeply, that I identify with. And, you know, not everything has to be spelled out perfectly lyrically. Like sometimes leaving things a little bit more vague and open can make things a little bit more relatable.
Yeah.
But like I think when you're talking about specific topics like dealing with loss and trauma, and or even just like writing from a delusional like romantic angle, it's a very relatable topic. And like I don't think that allowing fear to dictate what I do has ever been a beneficial thing, both musically or otherwise. Kind of leaning into the awkwardness or into the vulnerability or like just into those darker elements, pushing past that fear have opened up so much more opportunities for me as a
Yeah.
person in general, but like definitely musically. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you mentioned so some of those artists that you really personally enjoy because they are more vulnerable and honest and willing to kind of really pour their personal emotions into songs. What are some of those artists that have influenced you so heavily?
Well, I know that especially for a project like this, I know that Death Cab for Cuties have been a big one for me. Just because like a lot of the lyrics, and they're not always from like a true story that the singer went through. Like he's just like a great storyteller, but like a lot of the songs are talking about like misconnections and like just being like a hopeless romantic. And you know, I
Yeah.
find that very relatable, as you know, the type of person that I am. So listening to that kind of stuff, listening to another band called Howdy. They're based out of Texas, and a lot of their lyrics are dealing with like depression or dealing
Mhm.
with trying to comfort a friend who is having ideas of like self-harm, or you know. And you know, like that's all stuff that I've lived through, that
Yeah.
I experience even now. So like, you know, listening to lyrics like that like really impact me. I know other artists like Ray LaMontagne has sung about like, you know, really tragic breakups, or also on the flip side of that, being really deeply in love. And
Yeah.
so those are like lyrics and elements that I really deeply identify with. I know I mentioned them a little bit earlier, but The Cure, like Robert Smith's lyrics, like he's writing from all these different angles, and their new record specifically, because now like he's older, he's writing about like like his brother passing away. His older brother passed away recently,
Yeah.
and he's writing about like his own mortality, and also like, like where have all the years gone? Where's, like it's like we're living in this like weird like this time vortex of like we're just constantly moving and there's no stopping and you can't stop it, and we're all getting older and we're going to die one day, and that's a very
Yeah.
difficult thing to deal with because we don't want to face that. But like one day, like you could spend your like 20s and 30s and maybe even your 40s like not really thinking about that, but then one day you wake up and you don't have any hair, or you have all these wrinkles that you didn't notice, and you're like physically forced to deal with the fact that you like are only here for a certain amount of time, and you're gonna have to like, you know just deal with the mortality. It's I know it's a heavy
Yeah.
topic. It's a heavy topic,
Yeah.
but like it's so important. The reason why I think it's so important to deal with our mortality is because when you actually sit with it and spend enough time with the reality of it, it kind of makes it impossible for you to take anything for granted. Like
Yeah.
like what am I gonna spend the rest of my life like kicking myself for what I should have done 10, 15 years ago, or like, oh,
Yeah.
this missed connection with this person, or oh, if only I handled this situation better, or oh, if only I thought of this back. Like I'm wasting my current moment on the
Yeah.
mistakes of previous moments, and it we're just rocketing through time. So it's like, okay, like I can't take any of the people, any of the places, and any of the things that are in my life currently for
Yeah.
granted, because I know I'm not going to have these things like 15, 20 years from now. I know that things are going to keep changing. People are going to keep coming in and out of my life. Like it's hard for me to not appreciate the people that I do music with, because I've done music with so many different people, and some of those people are not in my life anymore. And
Yeah.
so, and when I was doing music with some of those people, and this applies to relationships too, but like when I was doing music with some of these people, I wasn't really fully present there, and it's not
Yeah.
until after the fact that I'm able to look back and be like, damn, like those are some good times. I don't want to spend the rest of my life taking for granted what I have and what I'm doing now in this moment or any other future moment, like I did in the past. Um, just because like I'm so caught up on, oh, what's the next thing, or like, oh, what I could have done in the past.
Yeah.
And I think facing our mortality and facing the fact that it's all going to end one day, it really puts things into perspective, and it really does. Like I was talking to another friend of mine of this recently, and she kind of thought that like thinking this way is like a very dark and kind of morbid thing, and like I think that's just the stigma behind it. Like it doesn't have to be a depressing thing. Like it is kind of
Right.
depressing initially when you think about it, but really what it does is it sets things into perspective, that like you're living your life now. You're everything that you want to be doing, you, for the most part. Like there's certain physical things maybe like you can't, like certain places or certain whatever, but like for the most part, like you're living your life now, and all the things that you want to be doing, like for the most part you can be doing right now. So like
Yeah.
there's no reason to hold back. Like fully live now, because there's no guaranteed future, and there's nothing you can really do about the past. And this is the kind of way that, like, not just with my therapist, but like I talk to with myself regarding like, because I'm a planner. I like to plan ahead. I like to think about what's
Yeah.
coming next. But also because I'm very reflective, I'm always thinking about like what happened in the past and stuff. And these are very helpful for navigating through reality, to like have plans for the future, and to also be reflective of the past so maybe you can learn from it. But to try not to get stuck in between those places, and to just sink into where you are now is so, so, so important. And there's a phrase for this. It's called memento mori. as just to remember death, to remember our mortality in every moment. So that way we're fully present in every moment.
That's really powerful, I think, because you mentioned a couple things that I think are really important to remember is that, our time on earth has a limit. Like the limit does exist at some point, like some of us could live to 100, some of us could get hit by a bus tomorrow, but it's really important to stay present and to stay like fully aware and in the moment that you're in and try to enjoy it to the fullest that you possibly can. But you've mentioning the mortality and being aware of of yourself and your aging and where you're, where you're going and the fact that, you have a number on your days. It just kind of, I didn't have this question listed, but I want to ask it because for some reason it popped into my brain when you were talking about being aware of your own mortality. I feel like there is a whole generation of people, even more so now than ever before, who are so focused on staying young physically, like making sure you look young, doing everything in your power to like battle the aging process, like Botox and filler here and there and everywhere. And I'm not knocking anybody for doing what they want to do to make themselves feel good or be happy. But personally for me, like I don't want to gaslight myself into thinking that I'm younger than I am. Like I don't, I don't want to wake up one day and feel 75 but look 55. Like I want to look the way, you know what I mean? Like how do you have like a personal opinion on anti-aging efforts in that vein?
That's the thing, like I think that like you said, like to each their own. If people want to do it, they can do it. But like as a trend, I don't know. Like we've always, at least since the 50s, we've always, I'd say this goes back thousands of years actually. We've always lived in a society and a culture that worships youth, and like that's why like most like central casts and shows and film and stuff are like very kind of youthful, and like when you think of like artists, like musical artists and stuff, it's like a lot of youthful people and stuff like that. It's not entirely true. Like there's definitely like a wide variety of ages in every field and every kind of form of entertainment and stuff like that, but like like for the most part, you think of someone like on a magazine cover or something like that. Like you're typically thinking about someone that's like late teens, early 20s, like really like young and upcoming. Like that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
But because I think we're excited by new things. We're not like so excited about like the familiar, because like, and this is why like, unfortunately, why a lot of people probably like cheat in relationships and stuff like that. It's just like, like routine for a lot of people gets boring, and people like the familiar safe, but it's boring, like, so that's why like a lot of like all entertainment is like people, like whether it's in a movie or whatever, like it's people being called to action and breaking out of their familiar to do this, like step out of this comfort zone, to do this like adventure or something like this thing that and that's, I think it's good for entertainment, it's good for books and stuff like that, and like even for our lives too. Like I think that like we don't have to just live like every single day the same way. Like obviously, like like we go out and do some adventurous things and stuff like that, but like for the most part, it's like we're excited by new, and that is reflected in like this worship of youth culture, and it's always kind of been like that. In my opinion, like like it's weird for me because like now in my 30s, like I'm noticing like more lines on my face and stuff like that, and like my hair's a little thinner. Like there's another thing that like I've been dealing with personally, is that I don't really like mind getting older, but then once you're confronted with like, well, my hair is actually getting thinner, so like I gotta do something different with it. Like I can't have like this like super long, luscious, weird, like I can't do that because like, you know, like as much as I'd want to, you know, like maybe it's more see-through and, you know, like in certain lighting and stuff. So like now you know, like maybe I got to do something different, you know, and then
Yeah.
maybe eventually once I hit a certain age and it's just like way too obvious, then maybe I just got to buzz it or shave it or do something else, you know, and that like, it's a harsh thing to accept, but like maybe there's more power in leaning into it and not just accepting that we're aging, but like kind of like really going with it. Go with
Yeah.
it. If we're meant to age, then why not learn how to age gracefully, right? As opposed to like trying to resist it.
Right.
You know, like, and so if aging is something that we fear, then I think the real fear is behind that is death. And so this just goes right back to that fear of death and needing to confront that, and actually like instead of being like this culture of death denial and fear,
Mm.
it's something that we need to actually like, even at a younger age, kind of like come to terms with and
Yeah.
understand more and not be so afraid of it, you know. And
Yeah.
that's like, everyone has different spiritual and religious beliefs, but for just speaking as myself, for myself, like the only thing that I'm here to do truly profoundly is just to live. And so why jump through all these different hoops that prevent me from living, you know? Like obviously like you want to be a little bit like have self-control, like, oh, fully live, like, okay, so I'm gonna drink every day and I'm gonna eat whatever I want. Like there's got to be like a level of discipline, obviously, because
Yeah.
like we don't want to just like live fully, but we also want to live healthy and we want to live wholly. And
Yeah.
so there's the only way to really do that is to have a little bit of discipline, but at the same time to also allow ourselves to not be so confined in like these thought prisons or these emotional prisons of I need to look a certain way, I need to act a certain way, I need to be a certain way, I need to be super polished, I need to be super with that mindset. As a creative, I would never have anything written out, recorded, published, because it would just be like, this isn't good enough, this isn't like the ultra perfectionism is something that, like, you know, because of my upbringings, I definitely was raised with that instilled in me, and I had to overcome that,
Yeah.
realizing that, like, you know, like, yeah, it's got to be like good, but like there's no such thing as perfect. And like, even though that's a cliche that is absolutely worth listening to, because the minute that you think that you can create this perfect thing, you're just gonna twist yourself into a pretzel. And
Yeah.
like with the people that are looks maxing and all this stuff, like they're doing that physically, and it's gonna get to a point where like you see like we grew up with people like this. You see all these people getting all this plastic surgery, and like it gets to a point where they don't even look human anymore.
Yeah.
To reiterate what we said earlier, to each their own, but
Yeah.
like I think I think that I think that if we weren't so afraid of confronting our own mortality, and we weren't in a culture of death denial, then we wouldn't
Mm.
have people with all this botched plastic surgery. We wouldn't have people that are trying to looks max. You know, we would just have people that are just like sleeping, you know,
Yeah.
sleeping enough, eating like a more balanced diet, maybe
Yeah.
being a little bit more physically active. You know, maybe you could get into like a little bit of like fashion, like find your look or something like that, but not you know, going overboard with it and feeling like you need to chase certain trends, you know, because like
Yeah.
when it comes to Mourning Coffee, goth folk, what the heck is that? Like I don't know, like I don't know any bands that are like there's no goth folk trend. Like I'm just
Yep.
doing something that like I like, Like maybe
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe like in 2010, like there was like this, like the Mumford and Sons and all that. So there was like a big like folk kind of thing
Yeah.
going on, but like I don't think there was any goth folk really. But even like for just like a folk trend, well, folk was really kind of trending like 15, 16 years ago. So like I'm not even really following a trend with that really. I'm kind of just like this whole project is about me expressing myself authentically, because that's another thing too when we get into like spirituality and stuff like that. Like a lot of spiritual stuff on the surface
Mhm.
is all about like kind of like dealing with like trauma and like being a little bit more like zenned out and stuff like that. But then like as you get deeper into it, you realize that it's not it's about knocking your hangups out and being more authentic. Like so authenticity is really what's the most important thing. Like not just as an artist and as someone that makes music, but like as just a person in general. Like authentically be yourself, and I think this is my opinion, obviously, since I was asked, but like the people that are really hung up on trying to remain youthful and are doing all these things to remain youthful, they're not being authentically themselves because
Yeah.
they're trying to look, they're trying to not even just remain in their own youthful state, but trying to remain relevant because we live in a society that's obsessed with youth. When in reality, like what there's nothing wrong with you. Just be you. Like whatever
Yeah.
age you are, whatever gender you are. Like none of this stuff really should, like what everyone else is doing, none of it should really matter to who you are as a person. And so, at the end of the day, like the minute that we could accept that, then we could just live and we could just be ourselves and express ourselves how we want, in a more authentic way.
You could give a TED talk on this.
Well, maybe I mean that's why I like to make music about it, but I also like to talk about it too, just because like these are things that like we're all experiencing this. It's just like,
Yeah.
so why aren't we talking about it, right? And I don't know, like it's all.
So much of what you're saying is so true, and the more that you talk about it and the more that you get into depth about it, the more it's like helping me realize that, yeah, like these are things that I think about, but these aren't things that I give a lot of attention to, and I feel like they
Yeah,
deserve a lot more attention than they get.
yeah.
But you did mention, I want to try and like dive a little deeper into the music, because this is where this is the space that you've decided to kind of explore,
Hmm.
these thought processes. And you mentioned, that like who's doing like goth folk, right? Like it's not, it might have been a trend at some point, but like there aren't a lot of artists that you hear in this day and time that are blending those two things. And it's a really interesting aesthetic. And that
Mm.
seems like it was kind of intentional from the start for you. Has that always been, kind of like the genre and the aesthetic that you've been going for is like goth folk?
Well, I would say that like in a way that, yes, but in the beginning, the aesthetic was kind of more of like an indie folk kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, uh, Obviously the themes were there from the start, and like the more like dealing with trauma and loss and stuff like that. Um, it's not like folk music hasn't like addressed stuff like that before. Like one of my biggest influences is Elliott Smith, and he's
Mhm.
a folk artist that deals with like some real, like even darker stuff than I do, because like he'll take like the really like self-deprecating angle for like a lot of things, like just really capture that hopelessness, that like feeling small
Yeah.
perspective. And I think it was like in 2025 when my band was invited to for a Halloween cover show, play The Cure, that I really started to not just like notice that in my own songwriting, when you strip down like a lot of the Cure's songs to like just acoustic bare bones stuff, that
Mhm.
like a lot of my songwriting kind of lives in a very, very similar place, but that also kind of reintegrating some of that aesthetic is kind of fun, you know, like instead of just like wearing like blue jeans and a flannel and a plain t-shirt, which is there's nothing wrong with that, like um it's actually kind of fun to kind of like, oh god, like and as I guess this is around the same time I started coming up with the idea of like calling the music itself goth folk as well, but like, ooh, like wouldn't it be fun like to you know, like try to capture visually what goth folk looks like.
Yeah.
Um, so like, what if I had like this uh like a black Western shirt and I'm wearing like a black bolo tie, but then my pants are like this like Edward Scissorhands, like kind of like the crow looking pants with like big gothic boots, and then like I'm wearing like the eyeliner, so like that's kind of gothic. I got these like raven dangly earrings, which is kind of
Yeah.
gothic. So it's like kind of like mixing like a gothic folk Western looking aesthetic. And I don't know, it's just like another way to express myself that, you know, I just started leaning into over time. In the beginning, it was kind of more so about, um, you know, obviously being authentic, but I guess it was kind of just like the coffee shop vibe, the that kind of perspective.
Yeah.
Um, but now I'm leaning a little bit more into the mourning aspect and what that would look like, and you know, and like I play my acoustic, even with the band I play my acoustic guitar, but now I have my acoustic guitar with like some effects, like I have like some like swirling choruses, so like I have like more of that gothic goth rock element that's incorporated into the music, because you know, I think it's I think we should not be afraid to experiment, not just musically and physically with how we look and stuff like that, but just in general, like explore ourselves. Like that's not just limited to childhood and adolescence. Like we should continue to explore identity and who we are, and express that all throughout our lives. Like, there's no reason why we should be like at 23, like, oh, this is who I am now, and I'm gonna be this person. I'm gonna look this way for the rest of my life. Because like age itself alone will not let that persist. Like, you
Yeah.
can continue to dress the way that you want to dress and whatever, but like eventually your hair is gonna gray, or you know, like maybe you're not growing facial hair, and then eventually you just like, you know, so like you can't like,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's more exciting to embrace the idea of change and learn how to move through it, as opposed to remaining this fixed thing. Like this goth folk thing that I'm doing is fun, and but maybe like 5-10 years from now it'll look and sound completely different, and I think that it
Yeah.
should, you know, like it's not going to, you know, nothing is going to remain the same, so like why not change it up? So
Yeah.
I
I
think that
kind of
answers your
love
question.
that. Well, being so authentic and true to yourself, and being able to just kind of like dive into who you are and letting people see that in its rawest form. What has been the most rewarding part of that for you? Like writing music that's truly authentic to you and telling your experiences and working through your feelings.
I've had a couple people, it's just a couple, but it's a couple more than I ever anticipated. But I had a couple people tell me that because of my music, or because of a specific thing that I was just open about, that it kept them from self-harm. And
Wow.
I think that's incredible. If that's success to me. Like if that's all I accomplish in this lifetime, that's something to be really proud of, because
Yeah.
I'm a survivor of self-harm, and I'm glad that I'm still here. I'm glad that I get to continue to live for all the countless people that I have known. And I say countless, it's probably like maybe a handful, but it's a handful too many, of people that have uh, 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 you know, committed suicide, right? And it's a
Yeah.
very heavy topic and stuff, but like I think it's so hard to live your life when you don't have a purpose, or you don't have like it doesn't seem like worth it, right? And but for so to me, to know that there's so many people here that were here that are no longer here, um and a lot of them were younger than me too. It's crazy.
Mhm.
It makes me not take any of this for granted at all.
Yeah.
And so how could I not just continue to show up, and also like not be afraid, as I was saying before, not be afraid of like trying different things, and be, because like it's all temporary. It's all
Yeah.
temporary. That's what all this does. It really, it sets things into perspective. And I mean, it's probably easier said than done, but like we really need to allow life to move us and shake us the way that's going to, even if it's a very tragic thing, because maybe our perspective is meant to change. Maybe we're meant to break in certain moments, break down, and so that way we could rebuild into something stronger, or something
Yeah.
new and more flexible, something that's more needed. And the more open that I've been with my music lyrically, and the more that I've talked about my experiences online, like I made a bunch of videos on YouTube and stuff, just talking about all the different traumatic events that I've personally been through. Like the more I've done that, the more people have like said, thank you for being open about this, because like, you know, I've been through something like this, and like
Yeah.
you know, like I never hear anyone talking about this, and this makes me feel like it's okay, you know,
Yeah.
that like I went through this, or you know, like I think that that's so important. Like it's so important to like show, like maybe what if the whole point to our experiences is to not just experience them, but to share them with other people, so they could learn from it, or they could like feel like they're not alone, and to like, so that way we could like destigmatize some of the stuff, and make it so it's okay to talk about these things and be open about
Yeah.
these things, so that way we don't, it doesn't kill us. We're not silently suffering.
Yeah.
um I know that growing up, like that's why like I gravitated to music. So because like I was a victim of abuse, and then like my mom passed away, and all these different things. So like I gravitated towards music that talked about like abuse, and talked about, you know, like when I was younger, like I loved Linkin Park. Like a lot of Linkin Park's lyrics I can relate to.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of other people can too, because he, like Chester, was not afraid to like be that vulnerable and open. And so like,
Yeah.
how can I not also as an artist be the same way? Because
Yeah.
that's what moved me. So like we shouldn't be afraid to be that open. And it's a lot of those comments on videos, and a lot of the feedback that we've gotten at shows that really encourages me to continue to be that open. And I think that's the whole point to it for me.
It's got to be really humbling to hear somebody tell you that essentially your music saved them, or helped them through one of the darkest times of their life. And
Yeah.
like you said, there absolutely has to be a space for people to talk about this more openly, because it does make people feel less alone. It does, remind people that it's okay to not feel okay in that
Yeah.
moment. Do you mind sharing what was the moment for you that made you decide to stop self-harming?
So what's interesting is self-harm comes in many different forms. Um, I only inflicted like physical self-harm to myself once, and it was
Mhm.
meant to be fatal. And it was around the time that my mom passed away. And this was I'd started like learning how to play guitar and stuff, but like, like I wasn't like really in any bands, and like I wasn't really very good. Like no one is good at anything when they start. And she was just such a passionate, like lively person, and she was like very driven too. And I never had that kind of drive or that passion for anything like when she was alive. So like when I did what I felt like it should have. This is the part that broke me, and I did make a video about it too because I really wanted to get into it, because at the time I had a friend that committed suicide, and it reminded me of this moment. And like the thing that drove me to do it was the idea is that it should have been me, because I
Oh,
I had no reason to still be here. I was like this invisible, like invisible person when it comes to like wanting to be accepted and recognized and stuff like that, and like instead just kind of like being like rejected or like unwanted and stuff like that, and then at home being a punching bag. So like I felt no real purpose of being here, whereas like my mom was like this like beacon. Like she had her own thrift store, and she was like a model and an actress. She did all these different things, and I wasn't passionate about anything really. And I was like really antisocial too, because I was like so afraid of the rejection that I did experience, and all because of my experience at home as well, that I just found it a lot easier to avoid everyone and everything and just be like a hyper introvert. And I know a lot of people feel like this as well. But that idea that it should have been me is what made me like go along with it. And thankfully, like I wasn't successful, and I'm still here, because it wasn't until after that my life truly began. Because um not to get into too much detail, but like I had a little bit of a spiritual experience where uh, uh I was briefly on the other side and heard my mother's voice, and when I came back, it was like a switch was flipped. I had this drive and this passion out of nowhere, and I just, which for some reason, like I was just really driven and passionate to like not just like do music, like really to do music, but like not just do music, but to also like I wasn't afraid of like approaching people and talking to people and stuff like that. um so I think what it was is that like like if we take a more spiritual angle, like like my mom sent me back, and she gave me her gift of drive and passion that I didn't
mhm.
have, to kind of like, okay, well now you do have a purpose. You feel like it
Yeah.
should have been you because like there's no reason for you to be here. Now you have a reason to be here. But like you could also take it on the surface of like, oh my, like losing my mom gave me the drive to live fully in like for in her memory, like for her, and not just for myself. And so like um but then like self-harm also develops in harmful habits, right? Like for a short time, like I was drinking a lot. So like even though like I found this deep passion for music, I was also like partying a little too hard, or maybe I was smoking a little too much and stuff like that. And so like these are all different habits that mask the pain and the trauma that we've been through,
Yeah.
because it allows us to escape. Um, so like if it's not a physical self-harm thing, which is obviously the most immediate thing that we think of, it's self-harmful habits. That's another form of it. And I think the things that broke me out of those habits was like just remembering my mom, and remembering that like like yeah, I guess like this is like for religious people that like think of Jesus, like what would Jesus do, or what would Jesus think of me? Like it's like thinking about my mom, like what will my mom
Yeah.
think of me? Is this the version of me that I'm meant to be? And so it's kind of like holding myself to a standard because of the memory of someone I've lost. And
Yeah.
then over the years, as I've met and lost more people, that 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 standard kind of just like calcified and was compounded on itself more and more of like, now I'm living for more memories, for more people that could still be here, or more
Yeah.
people that were really lively, that like had drive and a passion and stuff like that. Like even though I'm not them, I should be more fully alive because they no longer can shine. And we all have the ability to shine and should be shining.
Yeah.
But there's no reason to dim my light just because I feel like I don't belong. When in reality, there's no one that belongs more than anyone else here. We're all
Yeah.
here. We're all here. And if purpose and reason is invented by humanity, then we should just go out there and find our own reason and our own purpose. Like, it doesn't have to be anything deeply profound. It could literally just be like, like you really enjoy landscaping and you like working with your hands. So then that could be like something you get really into and you're deep into it. And this is my reason. It doesn't have to be like anything like I'm going to change the world. It doesn't have to be anything
Yeah.
like crazy like that. But like,
Yeah.
so it's the memory of my mom that really, like, above all, that really keeps me on track and has broken me out a lot of self-harm and bad habits and stuff like that, because I know that's not something that she would be proud of and that she'd want to see. And yeah, and I just would want to hold myself to a better standard.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, that's so vulnerable, and I do think that she would absolutely be proud of you today for,
Mm.
for recognizing those thoughts and those feelings, and for choosing yourself, and choosing happiness above all. And so I'm curious, like, when you're creating music that's rooted in such trauma and pain, is it difficult for you to revisit those feelings? And how do you protect your own mental health when you're being that open and vulnerable with what you've been through?
Well, I think what helps the most when revisiting like old feelings and stuff like that, the first and foremost thing is to not resist that. Like the other day, I went scout, like, because we're shooting a music video tomorrow. I went scouting to the location, and it's like part of like a reservation, so I spent some time in nature, and I just felt like something like welling up in me. And instead of like fighting it or resisting it or feeling like it was like inappropriate or not the right time or whatever, I kind of just let it come through. And so I just found myself like halfway through like this like little nature walk or whatever, just like crying and just like letting myself do that. And like there was like a bench somewhere, so like I kind of like sat down and kind of like really like let it out. And then after I let it out, it's almost like everything got like I know this is crazy to say this, but like everything looked so much clearer, like brighter. And I think that's because, like, regardless of whether we're revisiting feelings or not, like, we've been through a lot, so things are just going to come up randomly and we might not even know what it is. But like,
Yeah.
if the first thing that we can do is to not resist it, then we'll just have so much less baggage. And so in just like letting myself cry like that, like, I felt so much better. I didn't know I needed to do that, but I felt so much better. And so when I'm revisiting things, whether I'm writing a song or something like that, it might take me to like an older place, but like, because I'm not resisting it, I'm allowing myself to actually, like, oh, if there's something there, I'm feeling it, and it comes out, then there's no like sticking. Like, it's weird. Like, when we don't allow ourselves to really feel whatever's coming up, it's it has more of a hold on us. But then when
Yeah.
we let it really come out, it's like a release. It actually, like, you're not like spiraling deeper into like this pit. It's more so like you revisit this place, you feel this thing, it comes through you and it's out. It's not in you anymore. You're lighter. Like, I literally feel lighter when you let yourself kind of just fully, like, whatever is coming out.
Yeah.
And so my big thing when revisiting all these things is to just not resist whatever I'm feeling. And obviously, like, to also, you know, have like these like mental safeguards of understanding where I'm at now. Like, say for example, I'm revisiting like an old relationship or something like that.
Hmm.
Maybe I want to revisit um like aspects of the relationship that were like good or tragic or whatever. Um, and this is something that, like, I think is beneficial to have in life in general. But like, to like, when I'm revisiting old memories or feelings like that, to also not like forget like the clear path of like beginning, middle, and end. Like, there was an ending and there was an ending for a reason. Because like, it's very easy to kind of like, if you revisit things, to get caught up on them, because like, like, oh, this was so good, why didn't this work out? Or like, oh, this was like all like it it ended. Also, that's another thing too, is that it ended. And like, right now, what I'm doing, like, so like, I guess becoming a little bit more self-aware, like, I recognize that I'm just revisiting memories and emotions. I'm not reliving anything that's happening now. So it ended. It's no longer happening. So it's more so just like remembering and recognizing what I'm actually doing. I'm
Yeah.
revisiting something. I'm not actually experiencing something new. I'm revisiting something because what I'm doing is I'm like trying to fully process something that I went through, or I'm trying to express something. I am not in that place. And I think this, for a lot of people that like survivors of trauma and stuff like that, like, they'll have similar safeguards to where, like, you know, when you're like trying to process something and like revisit a place, to remember that you're no longer actually physically in that place, and that what you're doing now it's a relationship with yourself. It's
Hmm.
not like, say for example, like, my dad was abusive. My dad's not here physically right now. Whatever I'm talking about or thinking about or going through, like, that's my own relationship to myself and me processing what I've been through with myself. It's not me trying to work things out with my father. Like,
Right.
that's an external thing. And also, the situations that I've been through, those situations have happened. Like, they're not happening. The only happening that's happening right now is the echo of of the trauma and the experience that happened, which is now my responsibility to deal with, which is my own feelings towards it, and my memories. And the memories really only matter because it's an emotional attachment to the memory.
Yeah.
Most of our memories, like, we spend a lot of time driving, we don't have a lot of memories of the times we're driving because we're not emotionally attached to it. But
Yeah.
like, traumatic events, of course, that's because we're emotional creatures. We need to engage with what we've been through. And so, just remembering, number one, to not resist whatever it is you're feeling. And to, number two, remember that you're not physically in that situation anymore. Even if it is an ongoing thing, what you're doing is you're reflecting and revisiting in your own mind. So you're physically, you're in a safe place.
Yeah.
So those are the two main things that I like to keep in mind when I am revisiting certain things.
I think those are two like really strong things to remember for anybody who, would have to like recall or, like revisit a certain situation. And with your music, because it is so reflective of real life, what chapter of your life does your current music represent? Like what you're actively working on?
I think the music that, especially with this new record, it's the death of romanticism, the death of like pedestalizing people. It's letting go of like overly romanticizing how things could be, quote unquote, should be. And it's just like the death of a very toxic ideology.
Okay.
I think we devalue ourselves when we place other people or other situations above us, and we think
Mhm.
that, oh, I'm not good enough for this, or I'm not good enough for that, or we like, because like to have that mentality, like, and I know a lot of people have and are currently going through this, but like we'll find ourselves in situations where we're being used, or we're being like led on, or we're being manipulated, and that's because we because of like maybe our upbringing or our experience with like stuff at home with family, but we feel like maybe that's all we're worth. We're
Mhm.
not. We need to like my big thing, and this is like my chapter currently right now, especially like in my music and everything like that. But like my whole thing is realizing that you really don't need another person in order to realize that you're worth something.
Yeah.
And I think that it's another big part of society where like, like that's why we care so much about youth culture, and why we care so much about how we look, and like aging and all that stuff like that, because like we really like our self-worth, and I've been a big victim of this. Our self-worth is so tied to the acceptance of other people,
Yeah.
that like, and also the idea, like in a more romantic way, the idea of feeling like you can't be loved unless you earn it
Yeah.
is horrible,
Yeah.
because then like all the people that like you would also love as well, but all the people that you could find yourself in a very healthy loving relationship, you wouldn't be open to it because it feels unearned. Like
Yep.
like there was no chase, or there was no sacrifice. Like there needs to be a sacrifice, or you need to work hard in order to feel like you attained some sort of level of accept. This is, as an artist, all artistic people are to some degree stuck in this place where we feel we need to prove ourselves.
Yeah.
To who
Yeah.
and why? Because we think that we're not good enough as is.
Yep.
And so it's dealing and struggling with that. That's my current meta right now. And this record specifically that's why it's called A Slow Hearse Leaves Everyone Yearning, because it's not just the death of all like this toxic ideology, but it's also like taking the concept of like slowly letting go of something is what creates the space for the lingering and the yearning and the desire to fester, and to make it actually harder to let go. um Obviously, slowly letting go of something is better than never letting go of something, but that slow letting go, um it could turn into decades of your life, and it could
Yeah.
keep you stuck, and it could keep you blocked from so many more rewarding experiences you can have in this life that you'll be missing out on because of this like emotional hang up of like, this period in your life, whether it was with like a romantic person or what it could have been. Anything could be family, could be anything, but like um, I think that like true authentic self-love and acceptance is really like where I'm at right now, and it's not perfect. I mean, nothing's perfect, obviously, you know, but that's really the ideology creatively that and theme that I'm like expressing and working with right now.
Yeah. Thank you for this conversation. This has been like such a great session. Like I loved hearing everything that you know, I mean, even if it was like tougher experiences to have to discuss, with a perfect stranger.
And
But
well, hey, I think at the end of the day, like we're all perfect strangers at some
yeah,
point, and like all the people that we know right now in our lives, we're like, unless they're family, we weren't really born into this world knowing them, right? Like,
yeah,
and um, I think it's our own comfort level with ourselves that either like prevents us from being as open as we could be, and not that we should be like TMI with everything, right? Like, but at the same time, like we shouldn't be so afraid of just being able to talk to each other.
yeah,
And this is coming from someone who was so afraid of talking to anybody that it took their mom dying in order for them to break out of their shell.
yeah. Well, I mean, thank you so much for your vulnerability and being open and willing to discuss all the things that make your music so authentic. It's really just been such a joy to sit down and speak with you about it. And I encourage everyone to look up Mourning Coffee, stream it wherever you can, buy the music, follow on social media, and really look forward to what's coming next and what's in the pipeline for you guys.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, this was a lovely conversation. And we're connected like via email and stuff like that. So I'd love to like, next time we're putting something out, like we could talk about it, or like whenever you just want to have like an artist on to talk about like topics like this or whatever, like I'm more than happy to do this again. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you. I so appreciate your time. This has just been such a great conversation.
I agree.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of What Made You. Follow the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to see exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and teasers of upcoming guests at What Made You Podcast.